Nick, hi, we're live. Hopefully there's someone watching. I reckon not yet. Once Joe clicks a few buttons, we'll be live. All right, Moonshot Dispatch, episode 2. Three? We've definitely done more than 2.
At least 2.
At least 2. Episode not first. We're here today, May 6th. Bitcoin has been pumping since we last chat. Nothing else.
It's been a while though, that's probably the problem. It's been like 4 weeks since we last sat down for a chat.
Why the gains?
Yeah, I mean, why the losses? Let's begin at the beginning. Everyone, the trade tariff wars were just killing everyone. It wasn't just Bitcoin; everything was like hurting. And I guess that kind of settled down a bit. Really, is what happened, and everyone realised the world's not going to end, and maybe Trump isn't as hasn't got the blinkers on as much as everyone as he sort of claims to have. And so everything started coming back again. And again, not just crypto. We've had, NASDAQ, SPX, everything's sort of making some nice gains and recovering losses. There's some quote out there saying, I think we've erased all of the losses that we've had since the, what was it called, Liberation Day?
Liberation Day.
That he put in. So
everything's
it's
pumping.
good.
Well, actually, no, not everything's pumping. Bitcoin's been pumping, but Ethereum staying flat.
Is that true?
Rose 2%.
Yeah, well, what did Bitcoin rise? 1 point something?
14. In April.
Oh, over April. Okay, fair enough. Yes, there's been a like the ETH Bitcoin ratio, which everyone for quite a while was very keen on looking at, and then it kind of just went straight to zero, and everyone forgot about it. But that's been I think it's like one of the tightest Bollinger Bands or something like that at the moment. It's really, really stable, which basically, if you believe in the male astrology of technical analysis, it means we're about to do something violently upwards or violently downwards.
Yeah. Astrology for blokes, I love that. That is exactly what it is. Why is Ethereum just not moving?
This is a great question. So everyone looked at how well Solana did in the meme wars, and it clearly came out on top. People just enjoyed the culture. People enjoyed the cheap fees and everything like that. And so everyone was like, oh, Ethereum's got no hope for the future. Look, I don't want to pay $3,000 for my transaction. Meanwhile, Ethereum, because nothing was happening on it, fees are so cheap there right now. You can do everything basically on like the same as Solana. You pay the same amount of money because there's just no activity. But so that was kind of the big thing for a while. Then obviously, what was the first? There was one big thing that happened. It was the Argentinian president launched Libra coin or something like that, and everyone was like, "Hey, are memes just rug pulls? Are we about to get?" Anyway, so that was kind of step one in the downfall of memes. Pumped up funds, obviously having a bunch of legal issues, and there's just various things that have kind of hammered on the whole meme zeitgeist, and that's a bad thing for Solana, because Solana's kind of built itself up as a meme platform. Unfortunately for it, I think, because I think there's a lot of other cool things it could have done if it started trying to, build some more financial products on there, like Solana, so like Ethereum. Like Ethereum's got, all of these money lending platforms and whatnot. And they're pretty, they're like suit and tie and respectable, and they're not, the fully degenerate stuff that you get on Pumped Up Fun. But I guess that's Solana started going down. Ethereum obviously has been down for a long time before Solana. And it's that meme where the guy's got the noose around his neck, and this time Ethereum's looking at Solana and going first time. But,
I'm gonna make that clip again.
Yeah, basically. These memes get recycled constantly, right?
The memes have been glorious.
They're so good.
Well, I've been telling you my favourite meme for the last, it's been a month, so I guess there's been a few memes, but my favourite meme so far has been a little icon of Internet Explorer, a little icon of Nokia. And then there's Ethereum has come to sit. The icon of Ethereum has come to sit next to it. It's like, welcome to the club. Yeah. And like a lot of people have been doomsdaying about Ethereum, saying it's already done. But that seems a bit premature, doesn't it?
No, I'm here to say it's maybe not done. Hot take at the moment. Not that I have invested anything in Ethereum. I got out a long time ago. Right at the bottom, of course. But I'm not here to pump my own bags, because I don't have very many Ethereum bags. But I don't know. Like, if you look at sort of what Ethereum's doing, and you look at the infrastructure behind Ethereum, it's hard not to understand why people are suggesting that it is better than Solana. And just as a very simple example, what's it called? Client diversity. So in Ethereum, the more client diversity you have, the better decentralization you can claim. Just because if there's a problem with one client, it doesn't matter. You've got 50+% of the network is using some other client or clients.
Yep.
You can't do that in Solana, unfortunately. There's pretty much just one client in Solana.
Pumped-up fund?
No, we're talking about the consensus layer, not the platform on top. But yeah, that'd be funny. Pumped up fund, we're going to release a client now, actually, and it'll be called something ridiculous, which I won't say on air. So you just can't Ethereum's got all these other things going for it. It just needs to get out of this funk. There's this cloud hanging over it with wokeness left, right, and center, and they just take missteps every kind of time they do something, and they just need to get the culture back, and then it'll be good. And also we, not me, because I don't know any, but yeah, Ethereum would be good again. Make Ethereum great again. I'm all for it. It'd actually, I think, be bad for the industry if Ethereum were to just dwindle and die to nothing. Cause it's
there's been a lot of effort, and so much has been built on it, so much proof of concept stuff.
Exactly, and people outside will look in and go, oh, okay, well that's cute. That one just didn't work, and I guess the rest won't work now either, will they? Yeah. If the biggest one, Ethereum, can't work, But exactly. I don't think that'll happen anyway. There's so much momentum behind Ethereum. It's just, it's a lot. It's so much fun to make fun of. These memes, and it's so easy. It's such an easy target. And the price just keeps doing nothing.
Yeah, there's still plenty of stuff. And look, we just got back from Dubai. There's token 2049 in Dubai. No biblical floods this year, which it just meant that instead of just being pretty boring and just hot, really. Dubai's very hot, being out in the desert and all.
What reason can you tell for the next year?
Just being hot. And so last year when we went, it was just floods, and you couldn't get around anywhere because the floods. But this year it was just no excuses. It was just the terrible traffic.
Did you turn up with an umbrella and a raincoat? Just scarred by last year.
Just didn't know. Forgot how hot it is in the desert. But the vibe was good. The vibe in Dubai. There's still lots happening in token. There's actually a lot of different chain stuff happening. There was people from every different chain and all kinds of projects there. Definitely the flavour was real world tokenization. WRAs is all the rage. It's always funny because every crypto conference you go to, there always seems to be a bit of a flavour, a bit of a vibe. There's definitely RWA stuff. The RWA stuff is really funny because it's just the new trendy word for NFTs, but we're NFTing real things as opposed to monkey JPEGs. Which
when I originally heard of the NFT concept, I'm in my head I'm thinking RWAs, and the term didn't exist at that time. I'm we can do this thing to real tangible assets. But took a while to come around.
They just changed the terms. It's no longer blockchain, it's no longer crypto. DLT. Yeah.
Just TLT. Hey, tell me. So you've been to Singapore token. You've been to the Dubai token.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Are they just the same thing in a different place, or?
They're both pretty hot. Singapore's also very hot. The weather's a big factor. No.
If you went to one, would you be probably don't need to go to the other one, or they're is there enough difference there?
No, there's a big difference. So I would say, Singapore first of all is about 2-3 times bigger, way bigger. But also Singapore is definitely
the event, not the country, obviously.
Correct. The event is 2-3 times bigger in Singapore. So Singapore is just a much larger event in terms of activity. But there's a much, I guess the vibe in Dubai is that the crowd is very much from Europe. It's a very Europe-centric focus. Every second person you meet there is kind of Russian or European.
Kind of Russian.
Well,
are you kind of Russian? It's I'm kind of Russian.
Right.
Just a little.
Just a little.
So it's very Europe focused. So you hear a lot of stuff, and obviously Dubai focused. So Dubai, Europe seems to be more the vibe there. So you're hearing a lot of what's going on in Europe, and a lot of people you meet tend to have a focus on what's being built out in Europe, and everyone talks about Marco, and everyone there sort of selling banking services and stuff with Euro and all this kind of stuff. Whereas in Singapore, it's obviously a lot more focused in Asia, so you have a lot more stuff that's happening here locally. So Singapore, the Asian region, Australia.
Run a little bit Chinese in that one.
Mostly Singaporean kind of.
Okay.
But yeah, so there's definitely a different vibe and different sort of focus as well. I would say it's funny because everyone spoke to us about a DeFi protocol or some kind of wormhole or something happening in DeFi infrastructure in Singapore, where I felt like everyone was talking RWA stuff in token. So does that help you?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, let's get into some of our updates because we're supposed to be talking about our updates. Which is a lot of stuff. So the crypto bill has been released, probably the big news. US crypto bill, talking about stablecoins, RWAs in real life. RWAs, double real.
Yeah, there's kind of two things to this one, I guess. So there's this sort of crypto general stuff, and people talk about the DeFi carve out and clarification on tokens. So basically, a lot of the verbiage there is, this is how we determine whether something is a security or not, which is pretty important to a lot of people because you can go to jail very quickly if you muck around with the wrong type of sort of utility or wrong type of token rather. The other side of this is the Stablecoin Act, which is the Genius Act. We've heard about this act since Trump was elected, and there's sort of, I guess, a bit more clarity around how this is going to work. It all looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. I think, I've only skimmed it, but it seems sort of, sane suggestions. And now it's just, we have to see what, I think there's probably still some rounds to come with, clarifications and people wanting to see more. I'm just trying to think, so Maxine Walters has opposed it though.
Who's Maxine Walters?
She's in the financial side of the legislature, and she's on the Democratic side, I believe. She
memes inbound in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, she's basically not into it, but not because she believes it needs to stop. It's just she thinks there needs more clarity around certain aspects like fraud prevention and protection of consumers and stuff like that. So I don't think she's sitting there going, "I'm blocking this because I hate crypto." It's not like Elizabeth Warren style scenario. It's more of she just wants to understand it a bit better, make sure there's more clarity. Seems reasonable, although I don't know, there could be a bunch of machinations happening under the scenes we just don't know about.
Walters Maxine isn't building an anti-crypto army.
Yeah, maybe this is step one. Like you pretend to be on their side.
We've got 2 live viewers who aren't convinced that it's live. Could you give a shout out to Pokemon Trainer Dre?
Pokemon Trainer Dre, I love you.
And Caljack.
And Caljack.
Mate.
Let's go.
People aren't using real names. What is this, crypto?
I hope they've got a good NFT little headshot there.
Yeah. But that's kind of it at the moment. It's still not, nothing's been passed, so we're still figuring out what these bills are going to eventually look like, and hopefully they get some traction, because I think at a high level they're a good thing for the industry. They provide clarity. They're going to sort of they're not going to make DeFi protocols have to KYC everyone. Stupid things like that the original bill under Biden was going to try and do, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Sounds like some general kind of getting it.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably not perfect, but it's so much better than it was.
Yeah, nice. All right, the Pectra upgrade. We talked about Ethereum a little bit at the beginning. We know it's price-wise, it's been battling.
Yeah, maybe this is what all I needed. Pectra upgrade. Get some pecs into Ethereum. This is a big one. So there's 11 EIPs that have been introduced into this upgrade. Headliners are an EIP to allow account abstraction. So what this will do is allow you to run smart contracts from your wallet rather than have to deploy it on chain. I kind of struggle with this one a bit because I'm like, well, if you're running a smart contract from your wallet, someone's going to have to write it. So there's a bunch of overhead there. Why would you spend all this time writing a contract that only gets run once on the wallet? You kind of want to write something that is going to get used by a bunch of people, and in which case, why don't you just deploy it to the chain? But there are other advantages over this. Like, for example, you can write contracts using this thing in a way where a third party can pay for fees, so you can kind of have gasless transactions, and there's other cool stuff that happens. For me, the main question here is, how is it going to be used by scammers? Because anytime you get these kind of new things, that's kind of always the first thought in my head is, okay, this is pretty cool, but does it make it easier for scammers to pretend they're legitimate or get money off people in some fashion? And I guess the proof will be in the pudding, we'll find out. Other updates on this Pectra upgrade, you don't need 32 Ethereum to stake anymore. Previously you needed 32 Ethereum, now you can go up to 2048, which is no good for the average punter. Completely useless for me because, as I said before, I've got no Ethereum. But for like larger organizations that are trying to stake a whole bunch of Ethereum, thousands and thousands of Ethereum, it's kind of annoying having to do it 32 Ethereum at a time. So doing it up to 2048 is just much easier, makes management and all that kind of stuff much easier. What else are they doing? They're increasing the blob size as well. Blob. So
blobs.
Yeah. Well, the sizes were too small. Tiny blobs. The blobs can now go. You can now have up to, I think, 9 blobs in a layer 1 transaction, which all it really does is help the layer 2 guys be more efficient. And I mean, not that they're expensive already, because again, nothing's happening on Ethereum at the moment. So it's really like future proofing for when everyone finally realizes that Ethereum, when I sell my last Ethereum, and everyone realizes that's the point that it's good to go again, and it becomes busy, and then it'll be awesome for the layer 2s and help them scale with the transactions. But, it's a big upgrade. So for the 2 listeners that are currently listening, we'll be pausing our withdrawals. 6, welcome. We'll be pausing our Ethereum withdrawals on tomorrow night around 8 o'clock. That's when the update will happen. Yeah, right. Assuming it doesn't go poorly. So they've already had 2 fails. However, they've fixed the fails. The last test they did was successful. And to be honest, every Ethereum hard fork that's happened in the past has gone without any hitch. So I think we're good.
All right, so stay tuned for Pectra. The Bitcoin reserve bill vetoed in Arizona. So it seems like we're always getting some someone's on Twitter says, look, everyone's adopting Bitcoin and they all get vetoed. So how many vetoes are there? It must be like 0 from like 30 attempts.
We're counting our chickens before the patch for sure on this scenario. I feel like this possibly could be part of your Maxine Waters' army.
Really?
Maybe she's part of the army. She's like second in command or something. Anyway, what was her name? Governor Hobbs. Yeah. So basically, Arizona was kicking forward with this idea to have 10%, allow 10% investment in Bitcoin and digital currencies. I think they said. And this lady, Governor Hobbs, was like, no, I don't think so. That's just too much. It's it's a brand new currency. Why are we putting people's pension funds and this kind of thing? And I can see her point of view. There's another state, I can't remember which one it was, North Carolina, that's suggesting to do it at 5% instead of 10, and hopefully that'll get through, because that'll still be great news, and hopefully, I mean, if Bitcoin goes the way we all assume it will, that's going to be excellent for the constituents. But,
I still can't understand why they can't do at least a 1 or 2% allocation. Well, 1 or 2%. Look, if you're right, and 100x is from here, you're happy with it. And if it goes to 0, well, the allocation was tiny anyway. So I don't know. I don't see the downside. And I guess I'm not running the state, so.
Yeah, you're right. Like, what's the risk to them to propose a smaller percentage with the higher likelihood that it'll get passed?
Yeah.
And then why wouldn't you start low? Maybe it's just the barrier to entry once it's in is too hard to pump it up to 10. I don't know. I doubt it. It'd be the same. Anyway, yeah, you're right. I think 10% is a bit cheeky, to be honest. I mean, it'd be great for headlines, but yeah.
Couple of bags.
Yeah.
We've still got plenty of Bitcoin, so I need at least one state.
Yeah, come on.
Even like one of the crappy states. I don't know. Just someone.
Are you going to name it?
No.
Which is the crappy?
The great state of. Don't know. Let's not name it. One of the small ones that don't have heaps of money, like no one takes serious. Jared, can you name a different state that I'm not mentioning? I'm not going to mention it because
BF nowhere.
Iowa.
BF nowhere.
I love Iowa. Don't say that. It's definitely not Iowa.
West Carolina.
West Carolina.
Southeast Dakota.
Maybe let's start with like a county of some. Maybe we can get an adoption at a county level. A real crappy county that won't be offended.
Yeah, like a 2-horse town.
Yeah, like a 2-horse town. Anyway, let's go adoption. So next one, Solana upgrade sparks decentralisation debate.
Yes, we were discussing this before about the client diversity. So this is kind of it. Basically, there was a bug discovered in the single Solana client, and the basic node runners kind of colluded to get it fixed in secret, and it kind of makes sense. They're protecting the network in that way, in that no one can quickly try and exploit the bug, and the bug wasn't exploited, which is great. But it just shone this big light on the fact that they could collude in such a way. It's like, hang on, how did you manage to get everyone organized It's like, well, it's easy because there's only one client. And it's an easy fix.
And
Because
that-
you only have to fix one
And
client.
that was a potential like infinite money loop too. So someone could have just
Yeah.
gone, you know what, I'll have $1 billion sold.
Oh no, that wouldn't be good.
No.
That's bad, right?
I think so.
Well,
Well, unless
it's
you're the person who
interesting.
got the billion.
I mean, it works out. It works fine in the fiat systems. Why don't work in Solana?
And yeah, if you've got it, like I guess that's the thing. As soon as you get all that Solana, you don't really want to crash it because then your highest is
Yeah, that's true. That's always been one of the arguments with Bitcoin. It's like if you discovered an infinite thing, the stupidest thing would be to exploit it immediately because you're just gonna wreck yourself. But yeah, so that one that's interesting, and it's, I guess what's the solution here? It's difficult for Solana to build other clients, and Solana would be the way it should be like, you know, the community should be building these things. But it's very difficult because Solana is a complex system, and you know, Ethereum is still complex but simple enough that there have been, you know, other clients able to be built in different languages, and just allows for more diversity and centralization.
Gotcha. All right, well, hopefully no more bugs, but we'll watch that. Bitcoin devs clash over OP_return. I have no idea what this means.
Up return.
Up return.
Yeah, this is interesting. So there's a theoretical, or there's a limit on how much data you can put in the op return code when you're making a Bitcoin transaction.
So what's an op return?
So okay, you're going to be testing me here. So with Bitcoin, when you're writing Bitcoin scripts and making transactions in Bitcoin, you have various sort of little, I don't know, pockets you can kind of put data in, and all of them, most of them have a very specific requirement. So one might be for, you know, the destination address, and one might be for like what script you want to run, or like blah blah blah, all these different things. There's one called op return, which is kind of like put in there whatever you want kind of thing. It's kind of like a free open one that you can use. And there is a limit to how much data you can put in this thing. It's built into the protocol, and the original reason behind that was because they don't want you slamming, you know, 10 megs in this op return thing and filling up the blockchain, and then suddenly your block, you know, it's got too much data in it, it's super expensive, and no one else can put any of their transactions in the block, and blah blah. So they're trying to limit what you can do, because Bitcoin's not meant to be this data availability platform, right? It's meant to be a thing for transactions. However, with the advent of Taproot, which came out a year or two ago, I think.
2022, 2021.
Oh, really? That long ago? Wow. Yeah. Okay. No, you're probably right. It was a few years ago now. Yeah, with Taproot, you can now stuff data into Taproot outputs in a fancy way. And this is, and I'm not sure if you've heard of ordinals or like all that kind of stuff. So that's how ordinals work. They use the Taproot outputs to put data in. You can store stuff like pictures and whatever you want in there.
Yeah.
And what the suggestion here is to just go, look, with the, you know, if you want to store data on the blockchain, you can already do it using this Taproot stuff. Why do we have this arbitrary limit on op return? All it's doing is limiting things that other people want to use it for. You know, when I say legitimately, everything's legitimate because it's part of the protocol. But you know, it's not. People aren't going to just sit there and stuff 10 meg pictures in there and videos and whatever, because they could already do it somewhere else. So this is this argument where people are like, no, you need to have it blocked. It's ridiculous to just allow anyone to put everything in there because it's, you know, going to blow everything up. And then the other side of the camp is going, no, you can already put everything in there. It's not going to blow everything up. This is just another place. This is an arbitrary limit. There's no point in having it. So it's this whole thing. I don't know which side of the camp I stand on. I mean, things aren't broken now, I don't think. I haven't actually read into what would be better if we have no limit on op return. Like
Gotcha.
How does that make it better? But there are a bunch of arguments. My man Eric Wall is on the side of get rid of the limit on op return. So I guess by default you fall into that camp.
You do have an epic man crush on it.
Yeah, I do.
Which side of the argument were you on when Bitcoin Cash was around? Or
Before it was around.
before the fork.
This is like the SegWit 2x. This is like a long time ago now. I didn't know. Yeah. So we're talking back to 2017. There was this attempt by the big, like, what was it called? That big mining operation. They made miners. What are they called? Big Hash or something. Can't remember the name of it now. But they tried to, like, everyone's like, oh, they're trying to co-opt Bitcoin, and they're trying to make, you know, force it into the way that makes them more money rather than what's better for Bitcoin. And and yeah, they wanted larger blocks, and then the compromise was, well, we want, like, one side wants SegWit, the other side didn't want SegWit, and they're like, okay, what if we increase the blocks by 2 times and give you SegWits, like this compromise? And then oh man, you're stretching my memory here. So then it ended up getting snuck through so we got SegWit in the end, but we didn't get the 2x increase in the block size, is how it ended up working. Because what everyone was expecting was, I think miners had to signal whether they wanted to go ahead with the change. But I think in the end, it didn't matter what the miners signaled, the nodes are what mattered. And so the nodes did a bunch of other signaling. And anyway, this whole thing is very interesting if you read it. There's books written on this stuff. It's kind of cool. So and out of the back of that, there's a whole group of people going, this is bullshit. We've ended up with this SegWit thing. We wanted more space in the blocks, so they invented Bitcoin Cash, where the block size, they can make it whatever they want, right? And then after that, Bitcoin SV came out, and those guys were like, you guys have got like 16 meg blocks. Let me show you like a 2 gigabyte block. And everyone's like, what are you guys doing? And then Craig Wright went to court, and now he's not Satoshi. So. Anyways, Bitcoin history 101. So that's a whole thing. I don't know. Apparently, Blockstream, the guy, the core team who developed the main Bitcoin software, are going to release it without limits. Apparently, is what I hear. So, regardless of all these arguments, they're like, well, we're just going to do what we want, and you guys can follow us or not. Which is, a classic, harking back to the Ethereum client stuff, where, if you don't like what the client does, you just write your own. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Nice. Oh, there we go. Bit of history lesson.
Sorry.
That's good. I love it. I'll research more for next time because it's an interesting story.
Epic Games ruling boosts crypto app payments. What's this all about?
Yeah, this one's so I don't know if you remember Epic Games. They created Fortnite. Fortnite's this massive game. And there was this big argument where Epic Games were like, we don't want to pay Apple 30% of our revenues. It's just crazy. We've spent millions of dollars building this game, this culture, this whole community, and you want to take 30% of it for basically putting it up on a store. They're like, they couldn't get around it, so they wanted to release Fortnite outside of the App Store. And then like court cases were happening and this and that, and basically Epic Games won. And out of that, it means that previously, if you wanted to sell something on the App Store with crypto, Apple would take 30% of the crypto because they didn't count it like money.
Yeah.
And what's happened here is because of the Epic Games thing, now you can actually sell stuff on the App Store with crypto, and you don't pay 30% to Apple.
That's pretty huge.
Which is great for people who want to sell stuff with crypto. It means nothing for us. Obviously, we don't sell things on crypto on the App Store, and the way our setup works, you don't pay 30%. If you're buying Bitcoin on Infinite Reserve or Bitcoin Commodity, you're not paying 30% of that to Apple. That goes to you. But it's great for other like stores and whatever who want to accept crypto instead of having to set up a Stripe account or get banking or whatever. It's great for those like underbanked kind of regions.
Yeah, that seems pretty good because that's always seemed to be the killer use case. Is like there's so many protocols when we speak to them, even in Australia, and they'll raise money for their product. Like if they've got a good idea and they're like, I want to build a protocol, I want to build some kind of dApp. They just raise their money in crypto, right? So I'm gonna sneeze. They're just gonna, you know what I mean? Like they can raise it from anywhere, and this is the whole point of it. It's like they don't need to then set up at a bank and work out how some guy who wants to fund this project in Vietnam needs to send Australian dollars to participate. They can just go, sweet, I'll just cut out the middleman, and that's the whole idea, right?
100%. That's what Bitcoin and crypto are about. It's the money of the internet.
The money of the internet. And here you got some guy who's like Apple, because they're like the absolute giant. They're like, you thought you had no middleman? They're like, I'm stepping back in between you guys. Yoink. Yoink. I wish you guys could deal one-on-one like you adults. Nope.
That's a 50.
Let me protect you.
Let me protect you from your friends by taking a clip of your. So that seems to me to be a very good thing, particularly for development of all kinds.
I mean, Apple are obviously not happy about this at all. They fought it tooth and nail because they want their cut. But so we'll see how long it lasts. Is this an uneasy piece? Are they just going to go, oh, well, we tried our best, go for it, guys? It doesn't seem like a move that they would do, but we'll see.
All right, guys, you have fun making profits without
it. Yeah, we tried.
We'll just go sit in the corner and produce iPhones that are too thin now.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty much sure that's the exact conversation they had. Because the new iPhone is way too thin. It has that little camera bump on it and stuff. Like doesn't make sense.
Does they all have a camera bump, or is that just the Androids? Like mine definitely has a camera bump, but I don't know about the Apples. Like you've got a camera bump. You're an Android. Samsung.
I don't know. Just kind of said it because I thought it was a thing. But maybe it's not. Don't fact check that.
Sorry. Yeah, but no, you're right. Bendgate 2 is here. Everyone's like, I set on my phone. It was bent.
Let's move on to the next one. EU bans privacy coins and anonymous accounts.
This is the worst.
It's like just like trying to ban criminal. No, not criminal. That's the wrong word. It's like you can't. I don't know. It doesn't like. How do you ban that?
Yeah, that's so true. Like it's like someone has a wallet. What are they going to do? Have guys checking your computer to see what wallets you have? I don't think so. No, I mean this was the worst kept secret. Everyone knew this kind of stuff was coming. The EU regulations has always been very overbearing, I would say, and you know everyone kind of. It's nice that they've got clarity, I suppose, but it's still there's a lot of stuff they want you to do and a lot of things you can't do in Europe. It's not great, I don't think. I mean, but this stuff is obvious. Like this stuff was obvious. You know, they're banning Monero and Zcash and all those kind of privacy coins. Okay, that was no surprise to anyone. They want to, they want to KYC everything. They want to stop you from using private wallets. It's like, okay, I get it. They're trying to make sure that if there are baddies doing bad stuff, that they can catch them. But privacy is like a basic human right. You can't just stop everyone having privacy. This is my take.
It's a bit like saying you can't have internal thoughts.
Exactly. It's Big Brother's coming.
Yeah. Do you remember when in Australia we had COVID and they were like, okay, we're really serious about you. If you get a positive return, you're like on those rat tests, you have to report it.
Yes.
There's $1,000 fine for anyone who doesn't report it. And you're like,
yes.
Okay, yeah. come and inspect everyone's trash bin in Australia.
Yeah, exactly. Like a knock on the door. Did you just? And you're like, no, I didn't. Right. Well, just make sure you tell us.
Make sure you tell us if you ever think about putting something in the bin.
Yeah.
Anyway, so good on you, AU.
Do you reckon anyone actually self-reported?
Someone would have. Someone would have.
Like, what kind of person? Sorry if any of our 6 listeners, if one of you are the ones who reported yourselves, but I'd love to meet someone who self-reported.
So this is completely off topic, but there was a guy who I actually never met him. This is a story from a friend who I used to work with, and he one time he left employment or maybe he got fired. I can't remember, but years after he had left, he had like some crisis of conscience, and he came and organised a meeting with people he had been formerly working with, and be like, oh, this is something I need to tell you because it's been eating away at me for the last 5 years. And they're like, okay, I don't know what they're expecting to hear, but he's kind of like, look, I took a whole pack of pens once from your station account. I never told you. They're like, thank you for being so honest. And they're like, take it away now. And they're like,
did he have a pack of pens to like give back?
And I think he offered to go and buy some pens, and they're like, it's okay, you take the pens. And you know, so there are people that, so I'm sure that same guy probably self-reported. Yeah.
I mean, the people who self-report probably just don't get COVID anyway. Like they're probably so careful, you know. Like it's just this. Anyway, if you self-report, the government knows there's something wrong. It was a honeypot.
Honeypot.
In my theory.
Yeah. All right, Maldives. Oh, great settlement. Here we go. I was talking about some some random state in the US, but who cares? Like the Maldives has signed a $9 billion crypto hub deal. You ever been to Maldives?
Have you?
I have. Yeah, I went there on my honeymoon actually. It was great. It was just like the postcards, but the thing is, on the postcards, you don't realise is yes, it looks beautiful, but then when you go to one of those little islands, it's like the size of this office.
What,
and
the island?
Yeah, they're tiny. And so like after like a day of going, wow, this is amazing, then you just kind of, they're just like,
right, because there's nothing to do.
There's nothing to do. It's like, oh, they like take you fishing, you're like, that's great. You'll catch some sea monsters. You play some shuttlecock, I guess. And then
Shuffle.
It's also really hot in this badminton.
Is that what you mean?
Oh yeah, whatever. Badminton, same game.
Badminton.
Is shuttlecock and badminton?
The shuttlecock is the ball.
Oh right. I guess you don't come and play soccer.
You didn't play much of it.
Yeah, no, I didn't. But anyway, they've signed a big deal. And the other tip for our 6 listeners, or maybe we have more now, but do not, if you ever go to the Maldives, I know you're thinking about doing it. If you ever go there, do not buy local currency. No one uses it, and you can't get out of it once you buy it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you just get up with a bunch of like wizard money, and like you can do nothing with it.
I mean, our listeners, if they go to the Maldives, it's obviously because Bitcoin has gone to $1 million, and they can just do whatever they want.
Well, it's a crypto hub now.
And
It's
it's
a $9 billion crypto hub deal.
You're
So-
selling Bitcoin. There's no second best.
Hey, look, they're going to employ 16,000 people over the next 5 years, which will triple the population.
Does this give you SPF vibes? You know how he like lived in some compound in some fancy Bahamas? Yeah, this just gives me SPF vibes for some reason. I feel like he's going to just pop up there. He's going to be like, oh, hey, I'm running this whole show. And I've got experience. I did it in Bahamas.
So I'm Sam Bankman-Boiled.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, the Maldives is beautiful. I would love to go. If they gave me a job in the Maldives, like if I can sit in Mali, but I don't know if I'd love to go there for like a holiday work job, but then leave when I had to do actually any work.
Because you can't do anything. You can only play badminton. You get pretty good at badminton.
You get very good at badminton, but it was beautiful. What else is important about the Maldives apart from being beautiful?
I mean, so this is getting bankrolled by MBS Global Investments, which is out of Dubai. But then they kind of hark to how it'll be difficult for these Maldives guys to get this thing going because there are already these crypto hubs in Dubai, for example, and Singapore, and these other places are sort of looking to start up. So I don't know. It doesn't. I'm definitely wait and see for this. It doesn't strike me as something that's going to be instantly successful. I feel like it's sort of a tried and it's people have already tried this formula and it's worked, and the diminishing returns are probably kicking in strongly. This is how I see it anyway. But that's interesting. I mean, if we probably should get sent out there to just check things out and get an independent reserve presence.
This reminds me of like Network State. Remember we had Network State. We had
Biology.
what was his name?
Biology.
Biology. I mean, I know his name.
Biology.
Yeah, and the guy who wrote it basically sounds like what they're trying to do here, but like Network State was like some ghost town. They just bought it.
Yes.
And they're like, come here and just do your crypto libertarian thing.
But that thing was like education as well, right?
Yeah, that was a whole lifestyle.
It was a whole like city basically. Yeah.
And yoga.
And yoga, and chicken breast.
Was that Badminton?
Well, it probably was, but there was also a lot of chicken breast. So you had to get up, you had to study, you had to exercise, eat chicken breast, and then do your libertarian thing. That was kind of the vibe I got from it. I don't know. I think there's probably more to it than that, but that's what I took away from it. At least Sue was from Transhuman Coin was all about that. And that was the vibe I took away from it.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe Maldives have got more than chicken breast.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's probably a good idea for them because I think if they're just trying to be like a crypto hub, it's already been done. So they need to do something a bit more, go a bit wild. Eat chickens or something. Cooked, hopefully.
Cooked. Nice. All right. Well, I think we've gone through our list.
Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you for all the latest news. Hopefully, it'll be not a month before we get back on the air again and talk crypto.
Yeah.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Same channel.
Same channel.
Or more channels.
Even more.
Sweet.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Catch you later.